Hello and welcome to Where the Bush is Burning. I'm your host, Tom Tice. Each week we gather together, have a conversation about Christ. Thank you to those of you who have been giving us encouragement. We've heard from some of you. We appreciate what you have to say. We appreciate the fact that you watch. So that being said, let's dive into our conversation about Christ today. This is the fruit of some conversations that I've had with various people throughout this past week. And the results of it really bring us to a text of Scripture in 1 John. It's verse 8 of chapter 3 of 1 John. And I'm just going to read that verse. I may refer to the context along the way, but I just want to read the verse by itself, because it raises a point that I think we want to consider. If we look at 1 John chapter 3, verse 8, he who sins is of the devil, for the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And I just want to concentrate on that one part. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Now, if you look into the Gospels and you read them carefully, what you'll find is that there are various statements which Christ makes as to why he came. And so he makes these purpose statements along the way, and in your reading of the Gospels, you're going to encounter them. For example, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. I have come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. The Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. So we find these various purpose statements which he makes, and there are more, but those are just examples of purpose statements which Christ made. So we know from that perspective that Christ has a very clear, articulated purpose for being here, for his manifestation. Now, John, who wrote the Gospel of John, who recorded some of these purpose statements made by Christ, as did the other writers of the other evangelists, the other writers of the Gospels. They recorded these purpose statements, and so we have them. John, writing 1 John, makes this statement: for this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. When we think about that in regard to Christ, what is John really saying? And in what way do we find that Christ fulfills this purpose or completes this purpose in destroying the works of the devil? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And in the context in which John is talking about it, he's talking about it in a highly personalized sense in that respect, if you take it by reference to the context, because the previous verse, or the previous two verses, whoever abides in him does not sin, whoever sins has neither seen him or known him. Little children, let no one deceive you. He who practices righteousness is righteous just as he is righteous. And then the verse following, verse 8, whoever has been born of God does not sin, for his seed remains in him, and he cannot sin because he has been born of God. So in the midst of that, he makes this statement about Jesus being manifested to destroy the works of the devil. So if you take it within the context of 1 John, it's a highly personalized statement and application. That is, an individual who has been saved by Christ, whom Christ came to redeem, has something going on in his life which is going to deliver him from every element of sin ultimately. Now, When we talk about that, it is the process of what we call sanctification, the setting apart, where God renews us in the whole person after the image of Christ and enables us to die more and more unto sin and to live unto righteousness. So there is this process of sanctification. It is a work of God's free grace. And as this work of God's free grace goes on in our life, because the Holy Spirit has come to dwell within us, he delivers us more and more from sin, because we were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. We were born in sin. We are sinners by nature and by choice. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. So we are breakers of the law of God collectively, and we have sinned also individually, and we are born in sin and are sinners by nature, and then also sinners by choice, as I said. So when he talks about this in regard to Christ, he's saying, for this purpose Christ came, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And in the context, we have to take that in a highly personalized way. This is an individual thing. Christ came to destroy the works of the devil as they regard me as an individual. But certainly, having said that and having understood what sanctification is, he intentionally did much more than that. So redemption, that is the incarnation of Christ, wherein he came, was born under the law, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons, the perfection of his life, the atoning sacrifice which he accomplished on Calvary, his rising from the dead, his perpetual current intercession for us. All of these things are done with the intention and purpose that he might destroy the works of the devil as it regards me personally, and as it regards all of the people whom he came to redeem. So it's much broader than anything that I personally experience, although it does include that. It involves the great multitude which no man can number that we read about in Revelation. It regards all of his redeemed. So it regards this huge, huge, huge body of people who may be termed his church, all of the redeemed of all ages, which is really what the church is. It's all of the redeemed of all ages. So this destruction of the work of the devil has to do not just with me personally, but has to do with all of those people. So it's much broader than any single individual. And I would say that if you look at the context in its broadest sense, and we're going to look from me as an individual tree or you as an individual tree to the largeness of the forest, and we see then all of the trees. But beyond that, we see the whole of the world and even extend it so far as the whole of the universe. Christ came to redeem and to destroy the works of the devil in the largest sense of the term. Well, what were the original works, if you want to talk about it as it relates to humanity? The original works of the devil, if you go back to Genesis 3, was to cause Adam and Eve to do something that was in strict rebellion or contradistinction or violation of what God had told them. He gave the commandment to Adam and Eve, of all the trees in the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. So that's what he told them. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And Satan, in that particular situation, tempted Eve. Eve ate of the fruit she gave to Adam. Adam ate also of the fruit in complicity with her, and they collectively violated God's commandment not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Their eyes were open. They knew that they were naked. They made aprons to cover themselves, to cover their nakedness, and hid from God when he came into the garden in the cool of the day. All of this is in Genesis chapter 3. Now, when the first giving of the gospel is in Genesis 3:15, God, actually in the person of a Christ, the Christophany there, God speaks to Satan, and he actually speaks the gospel first to the person who's voted least likely to receive it. He says that the seed of the woman will come and that you will bruise his heel, but also his point is he will crush your head. And so he says that to the serpent in this particular case, meaning not just the physical serpent, but Satan. So here's where we have this first original indication that Christ will destroy the works of the devil. Well, what were those works? Well, it was sin as we refer to it. Sin is any want of conformity unto or transgression of the law of God. So they had broken the original commandment. And humanity has continued, we collectively have continued and individually have continued to break the law of God ever since. And we do that. We are born sinners by nature, and then we proceed to engage in various things which are in contradistinction to what God has said we should do. And that's because sin is fundamentally a selfish act. So if you look, for example, in Exodus 20 at the Ten Commandments, the Ten Commandments indicate some form of selfishness as it's acted out. The first of them are sins of selfishness or behaviors of selfishness that we act out against God. And then the last of them are acts of selfishness in which we engage that are against other people, humanity. And all of those things come down to the fundamental root of selfishness and self-interest and self-exaltation and all of the things that go with that. These are the works of the devil. The reason I say that is because this is where the breaking of the law of God leads us. It aids and abets all that Satan attempted to do, because Satan's intention at the outset was to destroy what God had done. And it is his intention to continue to lead humanity in our natural inclinations and to exhort us in our natural inclinations to continue to behave in a selfish way, in a self-serving way, in a way that does not take God's word into account or God's will into account, or does not take other people into account in any positive way, because it is the ultimate epitome of the me first mentality. And all that we call sin, all that we call the breaking of the law of God, has at its fundamental root a selfishness in which we all engage to some degree. So, for this purpose, Jesus was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Now, that's for us personally, that's for us collectively, and it is also for the world, because when ultimately the judgment of God comes, when Christ returns and sits upon his throne, he deals with humanity, and the end result of all of that, the return of Christ, is a new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. So ultimately, God, in the person of Christ, is not going to just destroy some of the works of the devil or individually the works of the devil in us, although he is going to do that. He's going to destroy the works of the devil in their entirety and in all the effects of it. If, for example, you look at 1 Corinthians 15, there the Apostle Paul, talking about the resurrection, talks about the resurrection of Christ. He talks about the fact that there is a resurrection that is coming. And he talks about the fact that Christ must reign until God has put all his enemies under his feet, and that the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Well, death is ultimately the end result of the work of the devil. Originally, Christ said to Adam and Eve, in the day that you eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall surely die. And we began at that point to be a dying race. And so we have continued to be a dying race until this day. And when Christ encountered Mary and Martha, John chapter 11, he said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live, and whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. So if we take these things together and consider them as being the end results of the work of the devil, Christ came to destroy the works of the devil, and the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. So, following the circumstance all the way through, or following the pattern all the way through, what we conclude is Christ came to destroy the works of the devil, and he will. He will continue to do so, and he will ultimately destroy all the works of the devil. We have a new heavens, a new earth. So there is an entire restructuring, recreation of the heavens and the earth. And this is what Christ came to do. And so the other things that he says, I have come that they might have life, they might have it more abundantly. I have come to seek and to save that which was lost. I came not to be served, but to serve, to give my life a ransom for many. All of those things need to be seen within the context of this largest statement. For this purpose the Son of Man was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Now, this is very, very, very good news, because what we see in the world around us in various contexts is the work of the devil being done. The astronomical amount of evil that we observe in the world, people doing evil things to other people in all of those different contexts, and it happens in a number of different ways. We look at that and we would perhaps despair and say, where does all this evil end? When will people stop behaving in such a god-awful, selfish way? Well, here is the answer to that. That Christ was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. And so to us, this gives hope, because it gives us a personal hope. I struggle with sin every day. You struggle with sin every day. Anyone who tells you that he or she does not struggle with sin on a regular basis as human beings is not telling you the true story. Whether they admit it or whether they don't, whether they admit it to themselves or not, or whether they admit it to you or not, the fact is that even though we may be a redeemed people, we will still battle with sin. We will still battle with sins of various stripes and varieties right to the very end. And sometimes the Lord allows us to struggle with those things. As a person I was talking to the other day said, the Lord allows these things to keep us humble. Well, that may be the case. You may continue to struggle with this to the very end. I know that there are things with which I struggle every day. And I know that those things are sinful, but I battle them, you battle them, we battle them collectively. However, there is hope for us personally, that the Son of Man was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. He's going to do that for me. He's going to do that for you who believe in him. He's going to do that for a great multitude which no man can number. He's going to do that for the world. He's going to do that for the whole of the creation. For this purpose, the Son of Man was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. So I say this for your encouragement. Yes, you're going to battle with the things that are against you. You're going to battle with your own life, in your own life, with your own natural inclinations. But Christ will win. Christ does win. Christ has won in the largest sense already, in that he's risen from the dead. And he must reign until God puts all his enemies under his feet, and the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. So I want to encourage you today in the things of God. I want you to be encouraged that Christ is succeeding. He's succeeding in you personally. He's succeeding in all of his people. He is succeeding in the world. He is succeeding in all of creation. So today, that's our conversation about Christ. Thank you very much for joining us. If you would like and subscribe, we would certainly very much appreciate that. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and who have been encouraging us once again. If you would like our devotional, the devotional can be found at hopeharbor.church. That is hopeharbor.church. And you're welcome to look there. It comes out every day. It takes about 2 minutes to read. Also, once a week, we put up an audio message from Hope Harbor Church. You're welcome to listen to that. And you may also find the devotional on Substack. You can subscribe to it, and they will send it to you in your email. So thank you very much for joining us. I trust that this has been an encouragement to you, and it will continue to be an encouragement. Jesus wins. Jesus wins. He has come to destroy the work of the devil, all of the works of the devil, and he will invariably succeed at everything he has intended. So take courage in that. I trust this is an encouragement to you, and that you will join us again here at Where the Bush is Burning. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here today.